For thousands of years, no human being could actually really survive on their own without a community, a village, friends, individuals that had their back. You couldn't fetch water, chop wood, make a housing, hunt. It was very difficult to do things on your own that way. And that's where human beings are so reliant on one another compared to, let's say, solo animals. Over the years, what's happened is that as we've gone away from the villages into cities and our modern lifestyle and jobs and technology that we have now, the interesting thing that's happened is that today we are not reliant on other people that we know for our daily survival. We're still reliant on other individuals. For instance, we're recording this podcast in our studio over here. Somebody out there somewhere is keeping these lights on at the facility, right? At the facility where they're running the electricity through this building. Somebody made our food this morning that we had at the cafe that we went to, but we don't have connection to those individuals. We can actually, if you wanted to, a human being, especially in a major city, in the western part of the world, could go an entire few weeks without seeing another human being, interacting with somebody that they need to know. They can order food on their phone through an app and have it delivered to them. They could watch Netflix. They could do all their job and computer work by themselves. We're not reliant on other people for our daily survival, right? So that's the first thing. But I would argue that actually, if you want to thrive, just because we're not relying on people that we know for our daily survival, the basics, shelter, housing, food, I actually would argue that if you want to thrive in life, if you have big dreams and goals that you want to give attention to, if you want to feel love and deeply connected to the people in your world, if you're going through a challenging time in your life, maybe you're a new parent for the first time, if you're starting a business and you want to create something incredible, the bigger your goals and dreams are, the more you actually need deep, meaningful friendships around you to support you in that process. So we went from this time period in history where we were relying on each other for survival. Now we actually don't really need each other for survival necessarily, people that we know, intimately know, friendships, but in a way, people are a little confused. They're confused because, hey, I'm living, I'm doing my job, I'm driving to work, I'm getting through the day, and you can almost forget that you're missing out on something. One of my favorite sections that you wrote about inside of your book was the chapter on touch. The chapter on touch is the section on touch is so beautiful because you make the argument for, and you present the science to actually support it, that touch, we live in a society now through a combination of a bunch of different factors, touch is not as part of our daily life as it once was. And what are the impact of those things, and how can sometimes just a small amount of regular touch with our partner, with our friends, our colleagues, even sometimes with strangers, dramatically improve our health and prevent us from building up stress that's there, right? And I would argue in that same way that deep, meaningful friendships, what's the value of sitting down at the dinner in the morning, going to coffee with a friend and saying, you know what, I've had a really tough week, and this is what's on my mind. And even if that friend doesn't give you advice, just them listening profoundly lets your nervous system know that you are not alone. And that's why I'm raising the alarm when it comes to having us check in and saying, just because you're surviving doesn't mean necessarily that you're thriving in your life.